Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Katrina Berry.
And I'm Bill Hughes. Today is Monday, September the 4th. Joel, noticed a lot of fog on the drive-in this morning. It's quite thick out there in some places.
Yeah, we do have some patchy fog as you step out the door. Most of that is just very thin, and it's not going to last too terribly long, but it may be just enough of an impact. You might want to give yourself some extra time stepping out the door. Let's go ahead and take a live look now at Storm Track Doppler 9. We don't have a drop of rain in sight. Things are pretty clear out there this morning. And again, with that patchy fog, visibility is a little bit reduced. You can see visibility down to about 3 miles in the Golden Triangle around Columbus, 5 miles in Starkville, about 10 miles in Tupelo. But in the surrounding areas, you might have some fog that could impact your morning commute. Temperatures are mostly in the mid to low 60s. And we're going to see some big time changes as we go into the next few days. It's going to be very warm today. We'll show you how warm it will be and how cool it will be by the later part of the week.
New this morning, we've reached out to WLBT in Jackson. They've confirmed a teen drowned at a lake in Neshoba County. Sheriff Tommy Waddle says the teen accidentally drowned on the Choctaw Reservation. However, he adds the victim is not a member of the Choctaw Indian tribe. We will continue to gather more information as it becomes available.
We have an update to breaking news from the 10 o'clock last night. A house fire in Starkville is now under control this morning. The fire happened at a home on Maple Street in the Green Oak subdivision. Now, firefighters tell WTVA that homeowners were home when it occurred. Tibahaw County Fire Services Coordinator Kirk Rosenhan says the fire caused extensive damage to that home. It even destroyed 2 cars. Fortunately, no injuries have been reported. Starkville Fire Chief Charles Yarbrough says this fire is still under investigation until further notice. WTVA will bring you more information on this story as it becomes available. Happening overnight, Montana's Lolo Peak fire continues to burn after sparking last week and destroying more than 42,000 acres. More homes were evacuated over the weekend after a flare-up of the Lolo Peak fire. That fire remains at 31% containment. An inmate has been on the run for nearly 36 hours after escaping the Lowndes County Jail. Bill Hughes has been tracking his steps in order to help police capture him. He joins us live in the studio with the last description that he was seen wearing.
That's right now. Happening right now, Columbus Police and the U.S. Marshal Services are searching for this man who escaped from jail on Saturday night. He's identified by police as 29-year-old Delvin Moore. He is last seen wearing a maroon shirt, white pants, and black shoes. Police tell WTVA that they arrested Moore Friday night after suspecting his involvement in multiple armed robberies. Moore then escaped from jail around 9 p.m. Saturday night. He was not armed, but he is considered dangerous. Now, we've reached out to Lowndes County Sheriff Michael Aldridge, and he says that they have been working around the clock and feel optimistic about the leads that they've received. He is asked now how the inmate could have escaped. Sheriff Aldridge had this to say.
What appears happened is he got a hold of an object and put it in the lock mechanism. And when the jailer shut the door, he thought it was shut, and it wasn't.
Sheriff Aldridge says that they're investigating internally because the jailers should have double-checked that door. Again, Moore was last seen wearing a maroon shirt, white pants, and black shoes. Crime Stoppers are offering a $1,000 reward this morning for any tips leading to his arrest. Katrina?
We have a developing story out of Tishomingo County. We're working this morning to find out when investigators will resume the search for body parts. Now, this after a skull was found on County Road 247 Thursday afternoon. Deputies tell WTVA that a man discovered the skull when he noticed his dogs playing with it in his front yard. Sheriff John Daugherty says the skull is small, leading him to believe it belongs to a female. He adds that it could belong to Susie Renee Lanier, a woman who's been missing in Iuka since June. The skull has been sent to the state crime lab in Pearl. And the time now is 4:35, and let's go ahead and find out. We hear that there's another hurricane in the Atlantic. Let's check with meteorologist Joel Young, who's been tracking Hurricane Irma out in the tropics.
Yeah, that's right. Hurricane Irma out there in the Atlantic right now, a Category 3 storm. It's been kind of back and forth from a Category 3 to a Category 4, and there's been a lot of information that's being passed around the internet, some of which is true, some of which is false, but we are here to break down the latest of what is true. Right now, a Category 3 storm, maximum sustained winds at 115 miles per hour. It's moving to the west-southwest at about 14 miles per hour. A very well-organized system, and it has been for the past several days. Now, let's advance this a little bit farther over toward the west. Let's see how far it goes. There are still some models that try to take this out to sea. There are also some models that try to take this into Cuba or perhaps into the Dominican Republic a little bit farther back. Or there are some that try to take it out into the Florida Straits. Now, the best case scenario is this thing goes back out to sea. If it were to hit Cuba, well, it wouldn't be good for Cuba, but it would at least weaken it some, perhaps even diminish it completely. Now, if it were to slide right through those Florida Straits, not good news. It would not be good news either if it went up and hit somewhere along the East Coast. Of course, that is something that wouldn't happen until well after the next 7 days. So our forecast over the next 7 days, not going to feature anything associated with the Irma. Just looking at temperatures climbing up to about 90 this afternoon with more showers tomorrow. We'll talk more about that coming up.
And looking ahead, we're expecting the Calhoun County Board to decide tomorrow if they'll give more money to house inmates. This after Sheriff Greg Paulin asked the board to pay at least $11 more a month. Sheriff Paulin tells WTVA that the county's municipalities currently pay $25 a day, and it's roughly costing about $40 a day to house an inmate. We're expecting a public hearing on alcohol regulations in Starkville coming up tomorrow. Here's a couple of things that they will be discussing. Reducing the distances from churches, schools, and funeral homes to where alcohol could be sold, and extending alcohol sale hours at bars, restaurants, and other licensed retail establishments. The hearing will be held during the Board of Aldermen's meeting at 5:30 at City Hall. Another hearing will take place on September the 19th. Happening today, the disaster relief nonprofit 8 Days of Hope will be in Tupelo will be sending its first volunteers to Texas. The team will be headquartered at a church in Houston. They will be bringing all of their equipment and the items that they collected from the community last week. For information on how you can volunteer, visit their website, 8daysofhope.com. Meanwhile, Houston schools are working to open in the aftermath of all of the flooding. Officials say the target date for classes to resume is September the 11th, but many locations will be closed longer for deep cleaning and repairs. The district says up to 12,000 students will have to move to other schools temporarily.
Happening now, the Mississippi Highway Patrol enforcement period is still going strong this morning, so expect more police on the road for Labor Day holiday. The enforcement period will end at midnight, and remember to reduce speed whenever weather conditions are encountered. And of course, happy Labor Day from WTVA. In celebration, people in Verona will host a parade. The lineup begins at 9 a.m. at Verona Elementary on 10th and College Street. And there will be bands, cars, motorcycles, and much more, as well as free refreshments and even free school supplies for students. The parade will end at City Hall. Now, take a look at last year's parade. Residents in Verona celebrated the holiday not by grilling out or vacationing. Instead, youth groups, Masonic lodges, and riding clubs came together with local police and firefighters to hold a parade. Commuters in Tupelo need to be aware of an extended road closure. The Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad Company has closed Green Street's Railroad crossing for repairs. Now, the crossing is expected to reopen on September 30th. The demand for more money is revving up across the United States. Coming up on WTVA 9 News Today, we'll tell you just how much more money the workforce is demanding through protests.
Plus, there's a double the trouble at a local zoo. We'll tell you how they celebrate America's only twin panda's birthday. Stay tuned.
Plus, we are tracking some patchy fog on this Labor Day morning. How much of that you'll be encountering as you step out the door. Plus, just how warm is it going to be today? We'll let you know coming up.
Weather Authority forecast with meteorologist Joel Young.
Good Monday morning to you. The time is now 4:42 and it is Labor Day, so many of you may not even have to get out to go to work this morning. But if you do, we are starting out with mostly clear skies. Here's a look at our Storm Track Doppler 9 across the Mid-South. Temperatures are mostly in the mid to low 60s. We're at 66 in Tupelo, 70 in Greenville, 70 in Memphis, 65 in Meridian. So not a bad start to the day, but we do have some patchy fog across parts of the area, which might impact your morning drive to work. If we can zoom in a little bit, we will get to those visibilities here in just a moment. I might have to do this manually. Sometimes my clicker gives me some trouble. I don't know why it works whenever I step off the wall, but sometimes it does, and just whatever. It's Monday, even though it's Labor Day. Here's a look at visibility now. 5-mile visibility in Starkville, 7-mile visibility in Columbus, and of course, here's a look at your fishing game forecast brought to you by Hunter's Hollow. Not bad for a day of fishing, mainly around 12:30 to about 2 o'clock. That would be the best time to do so. Of course, for more on that, you can go to WTVA.com.
We have breaking news out of Columbus this morning. We just received confirmation of a shooting from the public information officer, Joe Dillon. Now, he tells WTVA a 32-year-old man was shot once near 15th Avenue North and Martin Luther King Drive. The shooting happened around 9 p.m. on Sunday night.
The victim was taken to the hospital for treatment, and as of now, the condition is unknown, but Officer Dillon says the victim was alert and talking on the way to the hospital. We're expecting more information to be released before noon later today, so stay with WTVA 9 News for the latest.
Happening today, the UN Security Council will hold an emergency meeting in response to North Korea's latest nuclear test. The meeting starts at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and it's in response to Sunday's nuclear test, North Korea's 6th and its most powerful. Leaders say it was an advanced hydrogen bomb for a long-range missile. Last month, the Security Council imposed new sanctions for long-range missile launches. Also happening today, the Fight for 15 takes to the streets for Labor Day. Protests are planned in hundreds of cities across the country aimed to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Hospital workers are expected to join the rallies in a number of areas, particularly in the Midwest.
In covering Harvey, singer Harry Connick Jr. performed at a church to lend a helping hand to Houston flood victims. The singer sang as part of the church service and then headed to the parking lot to distribute food, cleaning supplies, and other household items as a part of a partnership with Walmart. Connick says Houston's ordeal brings back a lot of memories of Hurricane Katrina in his hometown of New Orleans. Meanwhile, the mayor of Houston has ordered a mandatory evacuation for one section of the city. Mayor Sylvester Turner says flooded homes in part of West Houston are not safe for residents and first responders. The mandatory evacuation affects about 4,600 houses and apartments that have flooded. And a new mega shelter is now open to those left homeless by Hurricane Harvey. The space is massive, 64,000 square feet, filled with cots and blankets. While out the shelter, evacuees can get help with food, clothing, and reuniting with family members. This space is actually leased to Uber, which donated its use to the city at no charge. And Uber is also donating rides to the shelter for evacuees.
In covering the nation, all of the hikers who were forced to spend the night trapped between 2 Oregon wildfires are safe back at home this morning. More than 150 hikers have been reunited with their loved ones. Many had gone up the Eagle Creek Trail Saturday to swim at a waterfall, but a fire broke out, forcing them to stay the night.
And you could say there's double trouble at an Atlanta zoo. Zookeepers threw a birthday bash for its twin pandas. Ya-Loon and She-Loon ignored their beautiful ice cream cakes and went for the cardboard boxes. They wanted the present. The 1-year-old sisters are the only giant pandas, twin pandas in the United States. That is absolutely precious. They are the 6th and 7th cubs born to their mother, Loon Loon, and father, Yang Yang. The twins' named together actually mean Loon Loon's elegant and happy daughters. How precious is that?
And just like a regular 1-year-old, they went straight for the box.
You know, it's about the present. It's
Exactly.
about the present.
Exactly.
The time now is 4:47, and when we come back, Joel will have a complete look at your Severe Weather Authority forecast.
Stay with us.
Now, your WTVA Severe Weather Authority forecast with meteorologist Joel Young.
Welcome back to WTVA 9 News today. The time is now 4:56. Visibility a little reduced in spots, anywhere from about 5 to 10 miles. Not terrible, but still some patchy fog may exist as you step out the door. Temperatures are mostly in the mid to low 60s, 65 in Tupelo, 64 in Columbus. Mostly clear otherwise with no rain. This afternoon we'll get up to 90 with a few pockets of isolated showers. Not out of the question. Better rain chances tomorrow with a cold front as it passes through. Much cooler later on in the week.
And coming up on WTVA 9 News today at 5 and 6, we continue to follow leads to help police locate an escaped inmate.
Delvin Moore escaped from the Lowndes County Jail Saturday night. We'll tell you the events leading up to that quick breakout. Stay tuned.